Hey, I'm Tom. Some of you may know me as Huggz, and
I'm Vichara. Some of you may know me as Vic.
And we're chatting to Mixmag ANZ about 15 years of Astral People. So basically, I guess, friendly competing party crews in a way. So like, I don't know, I'm from the Shire. So I had all my sort of crew there. I used to DJ with one of my best friends, Brady. We were called Wedding Ring Fingers. We were putting on parties at the Carrying Bar Bizzos. So like, we were kind of like bringing lots of like global sounds to the Shire. Like I guess like Baltimore Club, Ballet Funk, like all those sort of more different sort of club sounds which weren't really being represented in a suburban context. So that's kind of what we were doing, but at the same time, we were playing all the parties in the city, we were DJing at like Splendor in the Grass, Big Day Out, all that sort of stuff. And we'd always see Vic and his crew, the generic crew around.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I guess we were similar ages, kind of doing similar things as well.
We started Generic Collective with again like a bunch of like close friends and throwing parties in the city. And I think the mutual connections was actually Andrew Levins, but back then I think it was called Slater Brockman. Was
Yeah,
his
he
name?
was Slater Brockman.
We booked him for a bunch of our parties, including our first ever launch party, which was at the Burdekin Hotel, maybe level 3. And I think we even broke even on that party, which is a miracle in thinking back on it now. But like, I remember sitting there at a kick on and afterwards, and he was like, "Hey, you should actually like chat to these guys that are doing kind of a similar thing in the Shire." And it was obviously, it was Tom's crew. And then the funny thing is that yes, whilst it was this kind of like this friendly rivalry thing, it was actually just like we were just doing such similar things, and we had such a similar ethos when with what we were doing. So eventually two became one. I guess when you start, you always have like the brightest eyes. But like when we started, like I was 22, Tom was 21. Like you don't even know what you're doing like in 2 years' time, let alone in 15 years' time.
It was me, Vic, and Lee. With our shirts off in the summer, no aircon. It was about the size of this. Like, if you tell us you're going to be doing this in 15 years and you're living in a cage, nah. We're just living fast and seeing exactly what's going to happen.
And I think the rent, was it like $50 a week or something?
$100 a week.
$100 a week. The rent was $100 a week, and like Tom mentioned, it was like literally the office was probably the size of this area just here. So it was jam packed.
Very small. We had like a bunch of like the original Astral sort of artists were in the building too. I think downstairs, maybe George Nicholas from CK was there. Maybe DJ Plead, Thomas William, like T Morimoto.
Hamish from Clicks.
It was like we had like a few of the homies, and then Blood and Thunder, Kerno, doing who did like a lot of our, I guess, posters and stuff. So a lot of like the early family were all in this building before they knocked it down. And actually, that's where we did our first ever interview, which was with Jack Toohey, who we then ended up managing, and we actually subleased this building off him as well. And he took our first photos, and we're standing on top of a busted car in the car park, and that was like one of the first photos of us together. Oh my God. Before we started Astral, Sydney was honestly, I don't know, people probably won't want to hear this, but like, even we weren't around for this, but like 2000, everyone we've heard it from, this was the #1 capital of the entire world to party. Like we've heard from some of the biggest DJs in the world, everyone, nowhere touched Sydney anywhere in the world and ever has since in the year 2000, basically. And it feels like that kind of sustained for a very long time. I think it was maybe until we were about 20, like when we were like, fake IDs, coming up, going to King's Cross, where people don't even realize you couldn't even walk straight. Like it was like you're in the middle of a mosh, like walking through the street, and every single club had a line around.
I mean, that was, I think that was also like the inspiration for me, knowing that this is the industry I wanted to work in. Like, like as a 18-year-old kid going out for the first time, and like Tom was saying, like you're going into like an area like King's Cross or Oxford Street for the first time, where it's like absolute chaos, like, and you're looking around and it's fun and it's vibrant and it's exciting and anything can happen, and you're not getting let into this club, but you might get let into this one, but you need to have like a certain ratio of girls to guys with you, otherwise you won't be able to get in. Dress up, you gotta look a certain way.
Alligator shoes.
You gotta look a certain way to get into this club, but you gotta look another way to get into that club. Like it was just like, it was such an exciting time. It was such an exciting time in Sydney, and to be honest, like I honestly believe like we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for those exciting years, because it's what inspired us to be like, hey, we want to be a part of that. Little did we know that it was going to change quite dramatically in the in the years since. But yeah.
The whole story of how we got involved is we managed Cosmo's Midnight. That was like the first one. We found them through an In The Mix remix competition or something. They won a remix competition for Flume. Through that, we started building them, and that was our first like foray into this new sound, which was sort of bubbling up. But then we started meeting all their friends. I started going out with them, and then their friend like Tom, who ended up being Wave Racer, ended up sending us his first ever song. We're like, what the hell? This sounds like nothing we've really heard before. It kind of sounds like in the world of Rusty and Hudmo, which is what we kind of came up through and one of our inspirations for starting the company, but it felt like this new version of it. We're like, all right, let's just manage this. And within like releasing that song, 3 months later, he was on a world tour and we were playing festivals all over the world. Like things just happened really fast. And then he's like, oh, you should meet my friend Seb, who I used to be in a group with, who ended up being Basenji. He sends us his songs. We start managing that. And it was very much this organic effect. And then the next thing we knew, we were just all hands on deck, going all over the world. I remember that year when I was 24, I did 91 flights in 1 year. I basically lived on a plane between those three artists, just traveling the world. It was just happening so fast. And I think the coolest part was being in like random places all over the world. Like I'll be in Belgium or Minneapolis or something, and everyone's asking like, what's the next thing from Australia? Do you know Harley? Like all these different things. Like it felt like there has been moments since. I think it's happening again now in a different way, in the more house techno space. But it was a very exciting time where it felt like all eyes were on Australia and what was going to happen. And I think like that's kind of evolved over the years in different genres. And I think the exciting thing is like now we're at a stage where we're kind of representing in every genre Australia in a way, and we've kind of got a lot of the leading figures, and it feels like it's kind of coming back to that.
I remember there was moments there when like, an artist got like a Triple J ad, like Huggz and I would pop a bottle of champagne because it almost meant that you had a sold out tour coming up. Like that is what it meant, like one ad. Whereas now, like, it's obviously great to be supported and stuff, but it doesn't mean what it used to. But yeah, it's like, that, and it is a sad reality as well when you're looking at a lot of festival lineups and kind of that, seeing that midsection of local, that used to be occupied by local artists kind of not really exist anymore. Like, it's very much so much dominated by internationals.
We didn't know how to do a festival.
Yeah.
We were just like,
it was so nice being naive and not just giving a shit. Like it was just like kind of like, yeah, let's just do a festival now. Like we've got absolutely no experience whatsoever, but that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, again, it was just living fast. Yeah. Again, like we were just taking any opportunity by the horns and being like, yeah, we can do that. Like the whole reason why we started the festival was kind of what Vic was mentioning earlier with like, we start off as a management company. No one knows our artists. We need to make money. So we have to put on parties because that's what we're kind of really good at. But who's going to play our parties? We need to get international acts so then we can have our local acts to actually support the internationals. So then they get a platform. Now we've been touring all these international acts. Where can we actually put them all? Oh, let's put on a festival so we can bring them all together and then bring out more new international acts, put more management clients on there. Yeah. Now we have this boiling pot of all these different artists we work with in different capacities. And that's how we kind of started.
It sounds super stressful, and it was.
And one's also going to be all ages, because when we were kids, we had barely anything to go to back then. So we're going to give back to the kids. Surely there's going to be kids like us when we were coming up. And I guess.
And they're going to love Freddie Gibbs and Snake Hips, I swear. Like, and of course.
Object? 15-year-olds are in to see an Object.
Jam City, Night Slugs, man. Any 15-year-old would be into that. Of course, the all ages one we had to cancel.
We ended up losing $75,000. We were almost ready to pack it in. Like that was honestly almost the end of Astral. We're like, how do we come back from this?
We couldn't. That when I look back on that, the whole history of Astral People, that was probably the most significant moment in that. Like, that was a 50-50 at the time. So that whether we came out of that or not. And like I said, 75K loss at the time when you're 24, 25. That's like the world. And so we were just like, we could have either been like, hey, you know what? It's been 3 bloody good years. See you later. Or we could have gone the other way, which was like, okay, we know what's working for us. That was touring at the time, and obviously some of our management clients, they were kind of like picking up as well. So we were like, all right, let's just put our heads down, let's grind this out, let's make sure that every single person gets paid, every single artist gets paid, every single supplier gets paid, let's go after everyone first, let's not pay ourselves absolutely anything, let's just fucking like, you know, live on absolute big, like live on coins, and work our way through this. And we did. And that to me, I think that was a moment, like, you know, when I look at like all the little kind of moments that could have shaped the course of our history, like that was probably one of the biggest. Like,
yeah,
you know,
and I think losing $75,000, I think that was like a good thing. Like the things we learnt from that, you can't even put a price on.
It's like a true test of a promoter or an agent isn't how you respond when your tours are selling well or things are going well for you or you're having a great relationship with the agent. It's all, you know, happy-go-lucky. It's actually when a tour is performing really badly and when, like, you know, you're staring down the barrel of a big loss. And so that kind of mentality of, like, you know, it's the tough times that are going to define us. That is something that was like so true back then, and it kind of spawned from those eras where even during the lockout laws, like we could have responded, like, you know, it really sucked. Like, you know, when I think about how much lost income we had, like we were very much a late night club sort of brand, and like so the lost income from like people not being able to get into venues after 1:30 a.m. was huge for us. You know, that's where you'd make a bulk of your, you know, bulk of your money. So I guess for us, we had to really rethink, like, what do we want to champion? Like, you know, where does our taste lie? Where do we want to kind of focus on? And it was very much like, okay, we made a huge pivot to live touring. That's when things like, you know, the Stormzy's and the Freddie Gibbses and the Bad Not Goods and all those sort of stuff kind of, you know, started coming to the surface. But then it was also, you know, rethinking, okay, with our dance parties, okay, we can't do the late night club stuff anymore because it doesn't make financial sense. What about starting a daytime party series? And that was when the initial Summer Dance launched.
We were spending like quite a bit of time like going to New York and stuff, going to Mr. Sundays, and that was like a very big sort of like inspiration to us actually starting Summer
Especially
Dance.
when it came to, like, you know, I think what we took away from those Mr. Sunday parties was like how every aspect like adds to the, you know, the vibe of the event, and that's everything down to the security, to the bar staff, to the curation, to the sound, and like, you know, every one of those little touch points. If you get them right, you give yourself the best chance of like creating something magical. And that was kind of the ethos of Summer Dance when we first launched. Like, the venue was great, sound was good, like everything was great, except for the neighbours, you know, and the neighbour there. And eventually,
which is classic Sydney.
Yeah, and eventually the neighbours, you know, they got their way, and we had to stop it there. But I'm really glad that it's existing today in a new, you know, in a new format and a new life.
Yeah, and even just seeing it today, it's like bigger and stronger than ever. But I love how we've just stuck to that ethos as well. Like, where people have been, especially back when we started, it was all about booking as many artists as possible, stacking those bills. But we went the other way. It was like, no, we're probably just going to book 3 artists. Everyone is playing extended sets, like everyone. Yeah. And I think that's the beautiful thing. You could see everyone actually like flex what they're about, see every side of this artist. And I think having it in that context, especially when we launched in the National Art School, like there was no real party there, and I think that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to give something brand new in a place which has so much history.
Move My Way was an idea that like we've been toying with for maybe like 4 or 5 years. Like we always knew that this was something that the market would eventually want and need. We just had to pick the right time to do it. So we kind of just like, you know, we just kind of looked at what was happening around us and just kind of picked our battles. And then when the idea of like, you know, especially when those first 2 headliners kind of landed with Ezra Collective and Freddie Gibbs, who have both been longtime clients of ours and friends. And like, you know, and so when they both landed in place, we're like, okay, all systems go now. But yeah, it is surreal. But I would also just say, like, Astral People, if you look at our history, like, you know, it has always, like, you know, especially in those early years, that was just it's been a reflection of Tom and I's taste from the very beginning. You know, and now that's obviously evolved to become a reflection of all of our staff and our friends and our peers around us. Like, and that's what I like to think Astral has become. It's like almost like, whilst Tom and I still kind of, you know, oversee it all, it's really the people that are working for us and the people that we surround ourselves with that actually contribute to the taste and culture of this company. And we just kind of, you know, give them the platforms to be able to kind of, I guess, yeah, bring that to the surface. I think also just like constantly like looking to challenge ourselves, like even move my way. Like it's not something that we needed to do. Like if we did separate individual tours for all those artists that we represent, Freddie Gibbs, Coco Roco, Ezra Collective, we'd make probably more money than you would on a festival. So like for us doing those sort of things is exciting. We're lucky that we have the opportunity to do that because we are in a good position where the other, the other parts of the business, the touring, the management and stuff are in such a healthy place, so we can take more risks. So I think just being able to do more things like that. I think that the curation side of things, especially with 15th birthday and Move My Way, that's become such a fun part of our jobs in recent times, and I really want to kind of explore that more over the next few years. So there might be some other new things that we're working on that you'll see come out of the gate soon. But yeah, I think just always continuing to look for new opportunities and challenging ourselves, and not just like sitting back and resting on our laurels, because that's what we've seen a lot of other people in this industry do, and you see that like over time it just kind of fizzles out, or they ended up selling to a bigger company or whatever might happen, and it just kind of like becomes quite stagnant. I don't know, I'm still really invigorated with what we're doing.
And I think just sustaining what we're already doing, because we're obviously already doing what we love, we're supporting what we love. So to be able to keep doing that for another 15 years, I think is an amazing thing in itself.
Yeah. What our definition of success is, and if you asked us this 5 years ago, I probably would have said something different. But right now, our definition of success is being able to come into this office every day and be proud of the work that we're doing and proud of the work that we're putting out. But also like have our team feel proud of us as like, as being their bosses. Astral People is here today because like 2 people followed their hearts and followed their passions, and they made other people around the country come along for the ride. And that is what defines us, and that's what's going to define us in the future.
There's a lot of touring companies which don't exactly have a soul or a feeling or a brand, and it feels like we've managed to achieve that, which is kind of hard because those sort of things aren't really front-facing. It's the artists which are the front-facing thing, and I think we've created something which I personally think is somewhat front-facing, and it does have somewhat of a vibe to it. So I think that's kind of an achievement in itself.
Yeah, and look, the future of this company now is like the exciting thing for us over the next 15 years is now watching everyone else in their team kind of have their own success. Whether that's a tour that they book or a new artist that they pick up that goes to global heights. Like our happiness, like I was saying earlier, it comes from actually now seeing everyone else around us succeed, not just our own success.
And even on that, just even looking at everyone who has worked at Astral over the years, like look at our early interns, like Andy Garvey, like what she's doing now. She was one of our first interns, and Chris Barker ended up like curating all of like the crazy things that he's done. Like we've had so many, like all Genesis Owusu's goons were all interns here. Like just all the interesting people we've had work here over the years is like, it really tells a tale.
And the artists as well that we've worked with as well. When I think about like the likes of like, Big Ever and
Logic 1000 working the doors back in the day for our events.
Yeah, I mean like there's been so many DJ Plead through BV and it just to see the success that everyone kind of, we're just so happy that we've been able to give a little vessel to all these people that have just gone on and done some amazing things, and the community side of things that Tom touched on, that's really important. And it's become, as you get older and older, and you start to have these moments like 15 years where you can take a breather and just have a bit of moment of reflection. You realize like how important that is, and community is what sustains you. And hopefully, like we'll mention, like we didn't have those mentors that when we first started, and so the idea of us being able to kind of mentor others around us and always be here as an open book to help those, help those around us and help the people that are coming into the industry, because it's harder than ever. It's harder than ever to kind of be a new promoter, to try and get in the touring game. It's very much like, you've got to graft and graft and graft and graft, and if there's any way that we can help those up and comers, that's something that we'll always put our hand up to do.
So I think it's more important than ever to find a sound that you love and champion that and build community out of that. I think that is definitely the most important thing, because that way you actually are, again, corny, but leading with your heart. But if you lead with your heart and it's not about the money will come later. Yes, it's a bigger risk, but the payoff, if it actually works, is much greater. So I think it's like following your heart with the sound that you actually love and not following trends.
and build through community first. Like I watch it time and time again, young promoters go bust over trying to book a big international or a big local artist, and like they've kind of forgotten kind of like what they even set out to do initially. And like if you can, we started like fostering through our local management roster, and literally the first party was our whole management roster in a big like showcase that like gave us the money to be able to like afford the rent for our office. So thinking about the community, making sure that like you don't stretch your overheads too high on those initial first parties when you're throwing them as well, because we've seen time and time again young promoters just like get themselves into these really difficult positions and go bust really quickly. So put your community first, put your local community first. Make sure that you guys have the the cash flow to be able to like take those risks if you want to in the future when it comes to internationals and stuff, but make sure your foundations and your core is solid.